Welcome to Growing Your Firm, brought to you by Jetpack Workflow. We're here to help firms unlock the secrets to help you reach your goals faster. And now, here's your host, founder and CEO of Jetpack Workflow, David Cristillo.
Hey everybody, David Cristillo here, founder and CEO of Jetpack Workflow and host of Growing Your Firm. Today's guest is Tyler Winn. He's the founder and CEO of Cirrus Payroll. What's amazing about Tyler is that he's focused on payroll. He fell into the payroll business in 2012 and has since built a seven-figure firm processing payroll for small businesses. In addition to running his payroll firm, he runs a coaching business for accountants called Winning with Payroll. He's passionate about talking about how accountants and bookkeepers can break the myth that payroll is destined to be unprofitable, frustrating, and lame. I was talking with Tyler right before this interview, and I'm like, goodness, yeah. I mean, you kind of have the big players in the space. You have the ADPs and what have you. And then you have a lot of other firms that try to run away from this as fast as humanly possible. We've had folks on that say to run as fast as possible away from payroll. So I'm really excited to dig in what you've learned about this service line item that's made it exciting for you and so much more. But first, Tyler, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, David.
All right. So, we can get right into it. And just to confirm, Cirrus Payroll, do you secretly do a bunch of other things on the side, or is it purely payroll?
That's it. Small business payroll. We don't even get into HR, human capital management side of stuff. It's literally, we want to be the best payroll service on the planet for businesses with 1 to 49 employees. And that's all we do.
And are you directly competing against the larger firms? Like who would you say are some of your largest competitors?
Well, it's a very competitive landscape. You've got the big players that everybody knows about, ADP, Paychex, Gusto, Intuit, but and there's also a lot of independent providers like us out there. But I believe that there's a place for, it's a huge market though. So it's very competitive, but it's a huge market. I mean, there's hundreds of thousands of businesses that need this service and a lot of them that are unhappy with their current provider. So I am of the belief that there's a space, it's a huge pie. There's a slice for everybody that wants in and wants to do well. Even local competitors here, I don't really consider them competitors. I collaborate more than I compete with them, share ideas and things like that, because we're trying to actually take payroll from the big players out there. So
what's amazing, is when you see it's obviously a big addressable market. It's a big TAM, right? Businesses 1 to 49, but then you just see, frankly, $1 billion after $1 billion after billion. Intuit's market cap is well beyond $1 billion. Of competitor A, B, C, D, E. And like you said, then there's also a lot of smaller shops. So what did you see early on that gave you the conviction that there was still room to build a really fun business here?
Actually, Paychex inspired me. I originally, just to kind of rewind back, 12, 13 years when I got started, my background's in public accounting. I worked for Deloitte out of college. I did that thing for 2 years. And then I worked for an internal audit firm for 2 years. And then I wanted to get out and run my own business. I'm a CPA. I thought I'll just build a CPA firm. And so I started with a bookkeeping shop. I thought I'd eventually add on tax and all these other things. And I was told, and the common belief obviously is that you don't touch payroll. It's something you outsource. So I actually, with the bookkeeping clients I had, I outsourced them to Paychex and let them handle the payroll. I wasn't real happy with what I saw. I didn't feel like their level of service was up to par with what I could do. I also, from a financial perspective, trying to build out my firm and bootstrap it and start from nothing, I was like, well, if they're kind of sucking at it and I could do a better job, I could also add a revenue source to my firm that I'm trying to grow. So I actually kind of stole those clients back from Paychex and figured out payroll myself. That's when I fell in love with it. And I actually let my bookkeeping clients go and went 100% in on the payroll. At the time that I did that, I had run through my savings. So I had no money in my bank account. But I believed in this dream of running a payroll company and I saw there was a place for me. I actually moved back in with my parents. I took a job waiting tables at the Cheesecake Factory on weekends and evenings. Because I literally I gave all my income up. So I spent my days just networking like crazy, trying to build, and because I really believed in it. And then obviously after a couple of years, I was able to let the side gigs go, move out, get my own apartment again. I was 29 years old, right? So I was ready to move out, and it's just grown from there. So There is a place for independent providers in this space, and a big place. I think your listeners that have dealt with Intuit support for payroll, that have dealt with some of these other providers, maybe there's some things they do well, but on the support side, I do feel like there's a lot that's to be desired there. And so if someone comes in with a better service model, there's a lot of frustrated people out there. There's a place to build your own practice there.
Yeah, articulate the frustrations you saw that led you to believe you could do a better job. Like, what were some examples of some of the pain points where you're like, gosh almighty, I can run a better payroll service than this?
It's probably two areas: accuracy and responsiveness. So accuracy is obviously just payroll just has to be 100% right. There's no room for error. So I was seeing errors being made, but honestly, the biggest thing is the level of responsiveness that you get with your payroll provider. And we have relentlessly focused on that. So we actually measure how fast we use an email plugin where we're checking like how fast are we actually responding to incoming support, emails from our clients. We average it's right around 20 minutes right now. And it's not like, hey, I got your email, I'll get back to you. It's like, hey, here's the answer, or this is fixed.
What's the plugin you're using?
We use Hiver. So we use Gmail, and Hiver basically is a Chrome extension that turns Gmail into a ticketing system. So we don't need a separate platform to do that. You can assign emails. You have a sidebar chat where you can just internally comment and collaborate with each other. So a lot of cool features, but it also measures first response time to incoming support emails.
I love it. HIVER or no
Yep.
E?
HIVER. I think HRHQ.com is their website. And that's been a total game changer for us, because we were using another platform that the emails were routing through, and we were having to use Gmail plus this other platform. This let us consolidate it all down to one place.
Were you using a support ticketing tool when you moved to Hiver, or were you using like an industry workflow
It was
solution?
like Freshdesk is
Okay,
who we're trying to use.
Yep. Makes sense. So you saw that accuracy was spotty at times, which is scary for payroll, because people do like to get
I'm
paid
talking extra zeros being put onto people's paychecks by accident.
It's hard to walk back from making that mistake. And then you said the responsiveness and overall customer support.
I mean, it could take days to get a response back on stuff we get back to in 15 minutes. Or I talked to somebody that was with one of the large providers that we brought on as a client recently that said, I had this issue, which for us would be so simple. We could fix it in 5 minutes. She said she called the 800 number, was routed to 11 different people, like pass. And by the time she hung up, it had like 4 hours had gone by and the issue wasn't even resolved. So some companies are just so in growth mode right now and just trying to bring out as many clients as they can. Their support cannot keep up. And I don't even know if it's a priority. So it's just that level of quality is dropping. Responsive. Yeah. It just takes so long to get an answer back sometimes.
Is that because the I think the perception with payroll is the margins, are thin. And so because of that, do you really want to invest in customer support?
Right.
In addition to thin margins?
Right.
How have you been able to do it? Do you price your payroll at a premium and then people buy it because of the support, or is it kind of at a market rate, but you found a model to make, really excellent customer support a part of it?
We're at a more premium price point, I would say. And that's on purpose, because I want to be able to, to me, pricing is so important. Like, you price high enough, then you can afford the best staff. You can reinvest back into the business. It incentivizes you to want to grow that. I see a lot of accountants that are doing payroll that price it so low, or actually it's a loss leader, because they're like, we'll just bundle it in with what we're already doing and not charge anything extra. So what is the incentive to even want to bring on a new payroll client if you're not making money on it? I mean, we're running businesses here, right? We should be trying to make a profit. So if you price it too low, it becomes this, instead of this upward cycle of better staff, better processes, reinvesting in the business. You price too low, you're in this downward cycle of never having enough staff being frustrated, undertrained, undersupported, clients frustrated. So I've never wanted to go down that path. It's like, let's price at a level where we're excited to grow this business and we can reinvest back into it. I mean, I'm running 30% margins right now, which I feel like is pretty good for payroll.
Yeah. I mean, and is part of your growth. I mean, it feels like I think the attractiveness of having, call it, the full suite of accounting services is that you can have relatively fewer clients to reach, call it, seven figures. But with payroll, where you specialize, you're going to need a lot more to reach a similar seven-figure target.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so, what did you have to do differently, or did you have to do anything differently to bring in that quantity of client,
Mhm.
as you've been scaling up the business?
Yeah. That's a great point because I would say the average revenue per month for a client of ours is between 100 and 150 bucks a month. So you need to have a good chunk of clients before you hit that seven-figure mark. For me, I was in a unique position where I wasn't married, didn't have kids. When I started my business, I was able to bootstrap it and just grow it up gradually over time, do some side gigs, things like that. So if someone's in a position like that, I think that's doable. You can grow it over time. If you have an existing firm or you have other obligations, I think that looks a little bit different. But I think existing firm owners that get excited about payroll and say, we can do this, are in a stronger position in some ways because they have the capital to invest in that. What I tell other CPAs and accountants is when it comes to payroll, you either need to get serious or you need to get out.
Mhm.
So I'm not saying that everybody that's an accountant should start a payroll company or get serious about payroll. If that's not your passion, if you like doing other things and your attention's elsewhere and you don't see the vision for it, please outsource it. Like you definitely should, because it's just going to cause pain. But if you see the vision for it, there's a ton of potential. What I tell accounts that say, "Hey, I can grow this line of business into its own seven-figure, line item on my P&L." You have to put the resources into it. I usually tell them to start a separate sister company. So you've got your CPA firm. If it's large enough, you have an existing base of clients you can tap into and sell them payroll in addition to marketing it through a separate arm, which would be a payroll company that would have its own website, its own branding, and things like that. So that's the best technique I've found for people with an existing firm that want to get serious about growing the payroll arm is break it out. And then the beautiful thing about that is as a separate company, your existing accounting client can use your payroll services. You can also go market payroll only out to small businesses that are looking for it. As those payroll clients come into your payroll firm, then you can also market them back to your accounting firm. So it can be this beautiful symbiotic relationship there.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is, we were talking a little bit before the episode. I mean, there's a push to get rid of payroll. There's a push to get rid of 1040s.
Mhm.
And, we're starting to have a little bit more interviews where people are like, yeah, people have been telling us that for 4 or 5 years.
Mhm.
I'm a weirdo. I did the opposite and don't tell anybody, but
Yeah.
I love it. I love 1040s. Like
Yeah.
we had somebody on the other day. She's like, I love 1040 clients. Bring more on. Like somebody sold me all their 1040s. I was like, this is great. I love
Yeah.
1040 clients. And it was
Yeah.
like, wow, sometimes you do zig where other people zag. And
Yeah.
payrolls, a similar fashion. I feel like if people really did have a passion for this, but they didn't have the client base, I mean, there's probably so many firms out there that have a bunch of payroll clients that they're trying to be like, how do I offload these? Like you said,
Yeah.
get serious or get out. There's probably so many firms that are just like, I mean, they're probably coming to you as a client now, but they're probably
Yes.
like, I would love to get rid of these payroll clients. So there's probably even ways to jumpstart your journey into
Mhm.
payroll if you want. From
Yeah.
a marketing perspective, how are you driving, the volume you need to hit the scale that you've reached?
Mhm. A lot of it is through what you just mentioned. So building relationships with firms that have decided strategically this is not something we want to focus our efforts on. And there's far more of those than
Yeah.
the ones that want to get serious about it. There's a lot, I would say, most firms that are doing payroll are dabbling in it. They are doing it because they feel like they need to be quote unquote full service, but they don't enjoy it. They don't really make money on it. Their staff doesn't like it. That's the typical story. And those firms usually eventually get to a point, and it usually happens when they lose a staff person that has been the point person for payroll, and they've been the one like band-aiding everything together. That person leaves for one reason or another, and now they have a crisis on their hands, and they're like, we can't continue to do this anymore. So if you can build relationships with firms, a lot of them will eventually get to that point where if they know you, like you, trust you already, my company has a good reputation in the market. So I've had a lot of situations with other CPAs, accountants that are like, hey, I'm ready to get out of this business. Like I'm sick of dabbling with it. This is what I'm actually passionate about doing. So please take these clients off my hands. Some of them I've acquired Some of them have simply just said, I will just literally give them to you if you will just make this pain go away. There's different avenues there. But yeah, that's been huge. And then also I tell people, do what you need to do from a local perspective, like get your Google My Business page going, get reviews, get your SEO, because we do get a lot of inquiries, even though we run payroll in all 50 states. And a lot of these partnerships we have are with CPAs that are in different states than I'm located in. But I still get a lot of business locally because people find us when they search for us on Google. And that's should always be a part of your marketing repertoire.
Yeah. A couple final questions before we wrap up.
Mhm.
Being Mr. Payroll, so I will tell you, you're the first interview on where you were like Mr. Payroll. You're the person that
Yeah.
says go all in on payroll. I think this is the
Yeah.
first interview we've ever done. We're 250
Yeah.
episodes in. We have about 1 million downloads. You are Mr. Payroll. So as Mr. Payroll, what is your payroll platform?
We use Accountants World's platform. It's called Payroll Relief.
Yeah.
We've licensed that and used that since the beginning. So I've been on that software for 12 years. We're one of the larger users. I actually run a Facebook user group. It's got over 500 members in it. So yeah, that's the software we use. There's no perfect payroll software out there. I will tell you, I've looked at every single one. But for us, the kind of clientele that we're working with, which is, average 5 to 10 employees per client, it's a great platform. And we've figured out a lot of things operationally to run a super efficient business on it.
Yeah. Well, hey, me and you on the side, we'll build the dream one day.
That's right. I could use an investor.
Yeah. Why was Paychex so inspiring to you in the early days?
Well, it was that they did such a bad job, and I was like, I could do this
Oh, I
better.
see. So you kind of have like, the mentors to do, you do
Yeah,
what they do, and then you have mentors don't do what they have done, right? So
exactly.
you have both that version. Okay.
It was the warning signpost. Yeah, like don't
Yeah.
go this direction. Yeah.
Now, has it been, I feel like from a team and scaling perspective and hiring perspective, has it been easier to scale because you are just focused on a single service? And are you hiring locally,
Mm.
you're hiring remote? And then, yes, is it kind of better or worse, when your line item is just payroll to go out and kind of hire your team around this?
It's, I think, a lot easier to go higher because there are so many people in this industry, especially ones. So for us, a big competitive advantage is that we are 100% remote. And now that a lot of payroll companies are bringing people back in-house, some of the big ones are doing that. It's a recruiting tool for me. So I never hire anybody out of college, or as much as I would love to, it'd be fun to hire somebody with no experience and train them and orient them to this industry. That just doesn't work for my size of a company. What we do is we typically find people who've been working for a competitor for 2 to 3 years and are unhappy for some reason, want to leave. And a lot of it is that they're being called back into the office. And I've hired people based on that because they know I'm going to let them work from home. So it's not hard to find talent in this industry. It's not hard to find good talent. We've got a very good recruiting and vetting, process that we go through, but there's a lot of payroll people out there. And especially if you start casting that wide net nationally, I've never had trouble finding a really quality A player to fill the roles that we need.
Yeah. Before we wrap up, just a final question. In your hiring process, what have you learned in order to help vet, whether it's technical or culture, as you've gone out and hired remotely?
We kind of put people through the ringer a little bit when we hire them. From a technical standpoint, one funny thing we do is on our first video interview, we actually do the interview, go through all the questions, and then we say, now we've got a pop quiz for you. So you're on the hot seat now. And we literally we bring up 10 questions on the screen that are technical and ask them to answer them on the spot with no prep. Tells you a lot about somebody, if they're blowing smoke or not, if they know what they're doing. From a culture perspective, we do, with anybody that we're hiring, we do an initial phone screen. And the main qualifier from that is, if we're going to move forward with this person, is I tell my team, ask yourself, are you excited to talk to this person again? And if you are not excited, then don't proceed. But if you're like, I can't wait to talk to this person again, I would love to have them on the team. That's who we move forward with. And we've always been able to find somebody like that really we're like, they would be a great fit. So we just don't move forward with people that we aren't excited about.
I love it. Well, Tyler, you are now Mr. Payroll in the Growing Your Firm community. If somebody wants to reach out, say thank you, learn more, I know you're really passionate about adding this as a profitable line item for firms. And so maybe you said something that really sparked somebody to kind of lean in and really think seriously about payroll. What would be the best way for them to connect with you?
For sure, LinkedIn, just search Tyler Winn Payroll CPA. I will pop up, and I'm fairly active on there. If people message me or connect with me, I would love to engage on that platform.
Fantastic. Well, if you're listening to this interview, you couldn't jot down all the notes from today's interview, you can always go to jetpackworkflow.com/blog. That's jetpackworkflow.com/blog. We're going to link up. Tyler mentioned a couple tools. We'll link them up in the show notes. We'll summarize today's episode. If you did enjoy today's interview, leave a review. It helps us get a word out. And if Tyler said something that really sparked a new idea, share it with a fellow firm owner that needed to hear this information. Tyler, it's been a real treat. Thanks for coming on.
I enjoyed it. Thanks, man.
Thank you for joining Growing Your Firm, the podcast series for global, small, and medium-sized businesses ready to scale and increase profits. You can check out more podcasts by following the links in the show notes. And don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you're listening. At Jetpack Workflow, we're all about maximizing returns for accounting firms and CPAs. Check out more podcasts on growing your firm and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.